This is lesson 1-5B from the Algebra Readiness textbook. For today's lesson, you will need your notes packet and a sharpened pencil. Pause the video now, gather your supplies, and do the 3 problems of the study guide in your notes. Come on back to compare your answers. All right, so the first one, the temperature in your town is 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and the radio announcer says the temperature will drop 29 degrees. Write an expression to compute and predict the temperature. What will the temperature be? Well, I see that it starts at 67 degrees, and the temperature will drop, which means that it will decrease to negative or add negative 29 degrees. So 67 plus negative 29 is 38. So the temperature will be 38 degrees. The next one, negative 40 plus negative 179 plus 112 plus negative 105. We're going to start here with these two, and I get negative 219, and then rewrite everything. Then negative 219 plus 112, and I get 107. 219 is the greater absolute value, so my answer is negative. Then I've got the same signs, negative 107 plus negative 105, which gives me negative 212. All right, the next problem. Okay, negative 250 plus 99 is my first step, and I get negative 151. Then I rewrite everything. Negative 151 plus 156 is positive 5. Then the signs are different, so I subtract them, and I get 86. 91 has the larger absolute value, and so my answer is negative 86. All right, so that's a review of what we learned yesterday. Going forward today we are going to learn about how to subtract integers. If by the end of today's lesson video you are unable to subtract integers, you need to seek extra help. And we've talked multiple times about what that looks like. So, using tiles to subtract integers. The first thing that we're going to do is model this negative 6. Negative 6 looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to take away 2 negative tiles. So if I'm going to take away 2 tiles, 2 negative tiles, I'm going to take these and I'm going to throw them away. So this is take away 2 negative tiles. And what's left is my answer, negative 4. Okay, now you try. Pause the video, try these problems, modeling these 3 problems, and come on back to compare what you got. All right, for this one, first I model negative 7, then I'm going to take away 2 negatives, and when I take away 2 negatives, what's remaining is negative 5, or 5 negative tiles, which is my answer. The next one, I model negative 4, then I take away 3 negatives, and what's remaining is my solution, negative 1. All right? Make sure that while you're doing this through this entire lesson, that you are really looking for a way or a pattern that you can use to develop a rule. And that rule is what we'll use most of the time. So letter C, I have 8 negatives, and I'm going to take away 5 negatives. So I'm going to throw those away or take those off the board. And what's remaining is my answer. And what's remaining is 3 negative tiles. So my answer is negative 3. So just to review, negative 7 minus negative 2 gives me a negative 5. How could I do that without tiles? B, negative 4 minus negative 3 is negative 1. Again, think, is there a pattern here? Is it similar in some way to A? Letter C, Negative 8 minus negative 5. Is there a pattern there that I also see in problem B and in problem A? All right, let's give this one a try. 3 minus 5. So I'm going to first model 3. So on your paper, show me 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I need to take away 5 positives. But as you can see, I don't have 5 positives. I have 3 positives. So we're going to get creative here and remember what we learned about a zero pair. A zero pair is a positive and a negative. So if I would add 2 zero pairs to my desk, I now have 5 positives that I can take away. So now I'm going to take away 5 positives, and what's remaining is these 2 negatives right here. So my answer is negative 2. Let's try that again with these 3. If you think you can do it independently, pause the video now. If you need to watch another example or two, go ahead and work the next couple with me. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is show positive 4. Now I need to take away 8. I do not have 8 positives, so I am going to add 0 pairs until I have 8 positives on my desk or on my paper. Now it took 4 0 pairs. Now I've got a total of 8 positives that I'm going to remove and write down what's left over. I have 4 negative tiles remaining, and so my answer is negative 4. Letter B, I have 1 negative tile. I'm going to switch out the color here so you can see that I'm doing a different problem. And I need to take away 5 positives. I can't take away 5 positives, so I need to add 0 pairs. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, until I have 5 positives. It took me 5 0 pairs to get 5 positives. Now I'm going to remove the 5 positives, and what's left is 6 negatives. Okay? Letter C. Negative 2 is what I'm modeling first. And I'm going to take away 7 negatives. Well, I only have 2 negatives, so I can't take away 7. So I'm going to add 0 pairs until I have 7 negatives. Now when I have negative 2 and I want to take away 7, I have 5 positives remaining on my board. Right? Review it. Review the problems A, B, and C until you are able to do that on your own. A second way that we learn to model subtracting integers is on a number line. Remember that when you're modeling with a number line, you always start at 0. So start at 0. To represent 3 in this problem, 3 minus 5, we start at 0 and we go to the right 3 units. Then from where we left off, we're going to go to the left, or subtracting goes to the left 5 units. And then you put a circle around where you land. You land at negative 2. In your notes, give these a try. Use a number line to find the difference. All right, so we're going to start at 0. You are going to move to the right 4. So I'm at 4. Then I'm going to move backwards 8. Which puts me right here. When I count it out, I'm right here at negative 4. Have any of you started to find a pattern? If not, it's okay. We'll talk about it, but just try to anticipate that that's where we're going. So the first thing I'm going to do is model negative 1. So I am going to the left 1. Then I'm going to take away 5 more, or go to the left 5 more. I am left off with negative 6. All right, so to subtract an integer, here's how we're going to do this. We are going to add its opposite. Please write down what's highlighted in your notes. To subtract an integer, add its opposite. So, let's give this a try. To find the difference, we're going to change it to an addition problem. 32, oops, that doesn't work. There we go. 32, change this to adding the opposite. The opposite of negative 3 is 3. 32 plus 3 is 35. Letter B, negative 40, change this to adding, and change this to negative 66. And now I can go back to the rules I learned yesterday. When I'm adding and the signs are the same, I simply add the two numbers together and give it the same sign. 66 plus 40 is 106, so my answer is negative 106. Letter C, I keep the first one. I change this to adding. The opposite of 48 is negative 48. 2 plus negative 48, using the rules I learned yesterday about adding integers, I subtract and give the sign of the bigger absolute value, so negative 46. Letter D. The lowest temperature ever recorded on the moon was about negative 170 degrees Celsius. The lowest temperature ever recorded in Antarctica was negative 89 degrees Celsius. Find the difference, that means subtract the two temperatures. So let's rewrite this. Negative 70, change this to addition, and make this its opposite. Negative 170 plus 89. I need to subtract the two numbers, and I get 81, and then give it the sign of the bigger absolute value. In this case, negative 170, so it's 81 degrees lower. All right, in January of 1916, the temperature in Browning, Montana dropped 100 degrees overnight. If it drops, that means it went down or is negative. The initial temperature was 44 degrees, and it dropped 100 degrees. What is the final temperature? Well, 44, change this to an addition, and make this the opposite of 100, which is negative 100. Then the rules we learned yesterday were to subtract the two numbers and give the sign of the bigger absolute value. When I subtract, I get 56, and negative 100 has the larger absolute value, so my answer is negative 56 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? Now, just like yesterday, we are going to apply this to a string of numbers, and we know that when you have adding and subtracting in the same expression, to simplify, you add or subtract in the order it occurs in the problem from left to right. In this case, we're going to add first. Negative 11 plus 22 is positive 11 minus negative 55. So now I'm going to rewrite this as an addition problem. Change this to the opposite of negative 55. So my real problem is 11 plus 55, which is 66. Now I want to tell you, some people look at this when they say two negatives together and they call it, oh, I'm just going to make that a super plus sign. If you want to do that and skip the rewriting it, that's okay with me. Just make sure you understand that you're really changing it to adding the opposite. So adding the opposite is what I will continue to tell you. All right, give these three a try and come on back as soon as you are done and compare your answers to what I got. All right, so negative 4 plus 12 is 8. Then I'm going to use brackets because we already have parentheses. 8 plus negative 3 is 5. 5 plus negative 6 is negative 1. Okay, next problem. So here would be an example where you could just do a super plus sign and say negative 62 plus 59 and say that that answer is 3 and then minus 24. Or the way that we've been doing it through this lesson is to do negative 62, change this to adding and this to the opposite. And so really you get the exact same equation. So when you do this, negative 62 plus 59, you get negative 3 minus 24. And negative 3 minus 24 is negative 20. Oops, sorry. Rewrite this as adding negative 24. The signs are the same, so you add them and keep the sign, negative 27. All right, the last one. I might have to move this up a little bit over here. There we go. So the first thing that we're going to do is this. 14 minus 9 is 5 plus negative 20. The signs are different, so we subtract. 20 has the bigger absolute value, so the answer is negative 15. All right, so it looks like we're ready. We've used a number line, we've used integer tiles, and we've used the rule to add and subtract integers. Your job is to work on the following homework assignment out of your textbook, 1-6, page 32, 27 through 39. Make sure you seek help if you have any questions.